Welcome back to Enlighten Up. You are listening to episode 14, S.O.S, My Faith's Been Rocked, Self-Awareness, and Freaky Dreams. That's right. Later on in the show, Lisa and I are going to share a very recent experience we had over the weekend that freaked me out. And freaked her out. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about something that everyone goes through in life. Whether it's on a spiritual journey or not, it's always present. And that's what to do when your faith's been rocked. And that could mean in any area of your life, anywhere that you have invested so much belief into that you believe it's true. And then one day you find out it is shattered and your whole world is upside down. What do you do? So we're going to talk about all of the consequences of that and how that can shift how you move forward. So let's just jump right into it and get into the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Enlighten Up. You are listening to episode 14, and we are here with Michael Ronayne, Lisa Watson, and myself, Nicole Frolic. Lisa and I are together today. So, Michael, how's things in Florida?
Pretty shitty.
Yeah. So what's going on with the post-hurricane?
Actually, you know what? I have to give Florida and the governor here, and even throw FEMA some good stuff. They had it so freaking organized afterwards. I don't know about the Keys. I think they should just put caution tape across the Keys and call it a day and have nobody ever live there ever again. But here, it was amazing how fast and active they were, and power was restored to my home. Let's see here. It was Thursday, so that's about 5 days after the hurricane came through. And so literally the eye of the hurricane did go right over my home, like maybe like 15, 20 minutes after, no, not probably about like 40 minutes after it hit Florida on Marco Island, which is about 30 minutes away from me. And so it was a Hurricane 3 or Category 3, 140 mile per hour winds. It's amazing the amount of power and damage that is on the outside, but it's also nice to come home and you're like, I didn't know what I was going to walk into. I felt fairly safe since I'm higher up from the ground as far as flooding goes, but I have no idea about the winds. So when I came in, there's a reason why the windows and sliding glass door and all that stuff in my place are so ridiculously expensive, is because it's hurricane proof. So the windows and the sliding glass door, they can handle only up to 145 mile per hour winds. So everything was good. But outside, there was a lot of devastation, and it feels like, I always feel like the poor people always get the ass end of this stick. And so it's like, there's a lot of houses, literally like a floor of houses, like up to like one flight of floor, underneath water. And still to this day, I was driving by. I mean, the water is slowly going away, but there's a lot of flooding around, a lot of trees going down. It's actually kind of sad to see some really big trees that have like hung around for years, all of a sudden just taken out within like one day. So it's kind of sad, but I'm amazed about how well the government responded. So there you go for all those post-Katrina people. They probably cleaned up their act since.
Wow, I saw some of the pictures, and it is really sad to see all the downed trees, like really huge ones with big roots uprooted on their sides.
Yeah, you really don't care about light poles. You really don't care about street signs, but the trees, it kind of just starts to affect you. And now everything looks like fall down here, and fall doesn't happen down here. So it's like everything's been salt blasted, so all the trees are like brown and they look like they're dying. And it's just really ugly kind of looking out there.
Well, it's interesting because our podcast episode today is inspired by Michael and
inspired by a rant I had post hurricane.
Yes. It was a good rant though. So
maybe a little bit of tequila fueled rant, but yes.
Well, that's your truth serum, tequila.
I don't know about that. I mean, I can embellish some serious stories on that truth serum.
Well, so okay, for our audience today, we're going to be discussing what what do you do when your faith is completely rocked and you everything that you believed in now you don't know if you can believe in it anymore because things that you believe to be true maybe present themselves as not true. So, Michael, why don't you tell us what happened to you to kind of take you off your
Of
faith a
course,
little bit?
of course,
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
of course. I'm following the Nicole/Lisa religion of choice.
Whatever.
It's not a religion.
It's not a religion.
Oh, I forgot that was the bad word. That was the
Yes.
icky word for you guys.
Yes.
Um, no, it was. Let's see here. How do I get started on this one? Well, I guess what I was um, mentioning quietly in a nice kind of manner to Nicole was a little bit of frustration on when religious people and okay, let me take that word back, spiritual people truly try to put their spirituality out there to be judged by literally claiming that they are seeing visions of things happening, and then of course the visions don't come true. And so with your guys' spirituality, you believe there's a lot of people that have a lot of visions, and they take visions very seriously. And I'm like, on the last 13 podcasts, I'm always wondering, okay, visions. You guys talk about visions and things like this, but what does it really mean? Is it just your imagination? Is it just dreams? And so when a friend of mine who's very spiritual in her own way, was convincing me to basically almost like, don't worry about the hurricane. It's going to be fine. I'm envisioning orbs of light, streaks of light, things like that, pushing it off into the Atlantic, things like that, or picking it up and moving it somewhere else. And I'm like going, oh, yeah, okay, great. And this is like, I never want people to test their spirituality or whatever by making claims like this. To me, it's kind of like dangerous because basically if it doesn't come true, everything else falls down like a house of cards. So, of course, it didn't come true. And it kind of pissed me off because I was kind of like, when I was talking to Nicole, I was like, this is ridiculous. It's like when people put their neck out saying this is going to happen for sure, almost, because they saw it in a vision, and then it doesn't happen, it really just makes me think, what else is bullshit?
That's
What else do
legitimate.
you have got that you're telling me that's BS? And it's okay, great. Meditation works on calming you down. Good vibrations or great positivity, great. I mean, it's always nice to have someone who's in a good mood, and sometimes it can lift you out of your good mood or your bad mood, things like that. But like this one kind of upset me because I really was hoping that what you guys were talking about when it comes to visions that are implemented in your minds or your third eye or things like that really do have some sort of reason out there for you. And this just knocked any kind of penciled in faith that I had with visions and with this idea. I mean, this isn't just the only time. There's a few times in my life where I've just been, rocked with no faith because of things that happen in my life. I gotta imagine it happens a lot to people, especially people with significant losses and things like that. But I don't know. I was just really pissed off about this one for some reason.
Well, yeah, I
So that's
mean, you told me that you just stopped meditating, like it
yeah,
just
yeah. I literally have. I haven't meditated since,
yeah.
and I just I just don't see the. It's back to it reminds me of like when I went to church after my divorce, and I just was sitting in church going, this doesn't do anything for me. This actually is making me more depressed, and I want to get out of here. And I just stopped. At that point, I stopped believing in everything. I stopped believing in God. I stopped believing in everything. But I was kind of like deep in my depression too, so that probably goes hand in hand. But like it took me a lot of faith actually to get back to where I was, let's say 2 weeks ago, and then boom, something happens again. And perhaps I'm just vulnerable, but like of losing faith really too quickly.
Okay, pause. We're just hitting the pause button here really quickly because as Michael's talking about him being vulnerable, it turns out in post-production, while we were still recording, he got even more vulnerable and real with us, and we think it's really important to add that part of the conversation in. So here it comes.
It's been feeling really negative inside ever since. And
So because you feel negative, you feel like you failed?
well, meaning like I was doing pretty well. I was like, I was getting happier, and I was working on myself and what I thought was a good direction. And then like ever since I got back from the hurricane, or back from Georgia to the hurricane or whatever, to where I live, it's just like a really dark cloud of loneliness and lack of will, along with what am I trying to say here? Lack of motivation, lack of like seeing good things in my life, and it's more about just dwelling on negativity, and it's just frustrating. And it's like, and that was part of it, and a few other things, but like now I just feel like I'm in just some weird like limbo of feelings, like I'm just numb to things. And believe me, that this not talking about spirituality, but just talking about myself personally, it's like I can tell that I really need to focus these next few weeks on myself to make sure I go in the right direction, because it's one of those feelings like if I start going down, it's not going to be good.
I don't know. I just have a recommendation, and believe me, I've had those times and those days.
I know we all do, but like I recognize myself when I'm on the precipice of going in a bad direction, and that's kind of like the way I feel lately.
Okay, so here's my recommendation, and this is going to sound kooky, but
it's fine.
Maybe you'll try it.
What doesn't?
Take a shower. Or take a bath, okay? I'm serious. And literally just visualize yourself washing all this negativity off of you. Just like you're just going to rinse it off. Like you're going to put it behind you. Like you walked through this bad storm and you got all this shit stuck to you. And you're like, you know what? I just don't want to carry this around anymore, and I'm going to choose to let it go. And being in the shower, I think, is helpful because you can just kind of visualize like the water just sort of washing it off, and literally just visualize washing it off and walking away from it. Just let it go down the drain with love and light, and just leave it behind you and start new, and just leave it in the past. That's my recommendation, because that's all you can do. You can just pick yourself up from where you are now. You don't want to carry it with you. You just said that. You're a little bit worried about it. So choose to wash it off of you. It's whatever got stuck to you, and just get it off. It's just negative energy. So you have the power to do that. You don't need anybody to do it for you. It's completely in your own control. And I just, know that you're empowered to get rid of it and make that choice.
And I also want to say that it is pretty amazing that you have the awareness of knowing that you are in a place where you could go down a different road and you don't want to do that. Some people don't have that awareness and just fall into that trap and then have to work even harder to get back on track. And so I think you should
you bring that up. I mean, and Lisa, yes, I will do that, because it's not like I poo-poo your guys' spirituality. I really don't. It's just that I need to get there on my own path. I need to get there on my own time.
Exactly.
And right now, I got a huge setback. But with you two, I do listen and take your guys' advice very seriously. So don't think I'm just like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, Lisa. No, I do. And because I really like, I kind of believe in the fake it till you make it kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Meaning like, just go with it. And if it works for you, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then like, even like when I was telling you, Nicole, like a couple of days ago, it's like, I was telling you like, I've just been eating like shit because I don't know, I got the anxiety and all that kind of stuff, and I know it's all tied in all together. I don't know what was the very first thing that made me go in a bad direction, but it's like when you start seeing me eat friggin' fried chicken, bad shit's happening.
Well, you also, give yourself a break too, because you did just have a major hurricane come through where you live. And that's a stressful thing, Michael.
But Lisa, I think subconsciously that's what made me feel the loneliness, because I came home, I got nothing but possessions here. People were like super freaked out about the storm and all that stuff, and I got like nothing that I really worried about. And it was like, God, I'm lived this long, and sure, I hope my friends are okay, but most of them were out of the state or evacuated anyway, so I wasn't too worried about them. So it was like, I just came back to my home and it was intact and my car was just fine. And it was like, it kind of was a weird feeling of like, oh, that's right, I really don't have anything to worry about.
That's a great thing. The
No,
people
it's
that
not.
you
No,
care
what
about
he's-
weren't there.
No, what he's saying is doesn't have the people that other people would worry about in his life.
I get that, but I'm just saying that that's a good thing that you didn't have family members or children or spouses that could have been in danger.
Yeah, I have a very good self-awareness of myself, because I had to pretty much pull myself out of depression, and I studied it so much because of my ex-wife that when I went into it, I knew I was deep in depression when I was in it. It wasn't like I was just walking around mopey. It was like, I know I'm depressed. I know I got to get through this. I know how to do it, how to get out of it. But that motivation of actually moving forward, taking steps forward, is really difficult when you're in that depressive state.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, I'm telling you guys for two reasons. One is so you guys can have an understanding of the person you're talking to right now. But the other thing is like when I actually say it to you guys, it's actually nice for you guys to be aware of who I am and what about me makes me tick, if you will. It also makes me feel like, all right, if I tell you, then it's real. And if it's real, then I can do something about it.
You're so far ahead of where you think you are, in my opinion. Like, you have so much awareness of how you feel. You have an awareness of where you've been. You have an awareness of where you're going. You're speaking openly about something that's, private and personal to you that you struggle with. So you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
I've struggled with depression my whole life, so I know exactly what you're talking about, and for me, simply acknowledging that it was an issue for me and choosing to think differently. And I think when I finally decided, you know what, I'm not allowing this to control my life anymore, I'm going to be in control, that's when things started to change for me. And I really started focusing more on being appreciative and finding love and gratitude in the tiniest things in my day to help keep my mind in an upbeat, positive vibration. And doing that changed a lot for me. So
yeah, I hope it works for me too.
You're gonna get there. I have a lot of faith in you.
Thanks.
I think it's really great that you were able to talk about the whole depression thing, because when your faith gets rocked, that's something that's really easy for people to slip into, and it's a very real thing that a lot of people go through. And so, when people are allowed to hear other people's stories, they don't feel alone. They know that other people are going through that, and one thing you say could help someone else like get out of it or realize where they're at. And I think it's an important thing to talk about.
It is, and not enough people talk about it.
I'll tell you something that I did learn, because like I said, I stopped believing in God and all that stuff, and that was some of my darkest days of depression. And the only thing that made sense for me to get out of depression was to re-believe, or no matter what, it's like I'm choosing to believe. That's what it was for me. I was like, I have to believe in God, because if I don't believe in God, I might as well just shoot myself now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to believe in God was a huge step to get out of depression. And so, yeah, the spirituality I want it to be the biggest thing in my life. But, I still believe in God. I still have to.
Yeah,
and
but I mean,
I really want to believe in what you guys have got going on. I'm definitely not sure what's the point of being connected to the spiritual realm when they're, it's like, that's why I was asking you, Nicole, is like, what do you decipher from your visions? What's the point of it? Or is it just a bunch of ghosts saying, "Oh, look at us, aren't we cool? And don't worry, you'll get here too." And okay, what's the point of that?
I don't have visions, and I don't, I speak light language, and that's whatever. I mean, it's nice as far as confirmation on things, but it doesn't help me really live my life. My faith in God is, just like you, what has helped keep me going, getting me out of depression, keeping my chin up during tough times, because I just believe that there's a bigger purpose to this life than these little, stories that I make up in my head when I'm feeling depressed, or reasons,
Right.
to be depressed. And it allows me to lift up above those and kind of let those sort of just drift away and not give as much weight to them, because I know I just have faith in God that I'm here for a reason, and that it's just, simply bigger than all of this, and that I can just kind of let it go and let it be in the past and live in the now and focus on what is good, and that's going to get me through this. And it's just as simple as that. It's not because I have visions or light language helps me, or my crystals are guiding me, or, my dreams tell me what to do. None of that stuff is helpful. Only having faith that there's a bigger picture going on here, and all I have to do is live in the moment, let the past go behind me, and find joy and happiness now. And if I can just focus on the now, from now to now to now to now, and keep doing that, then I start feeling good again.
Yeah, because the mind doesn't know what's the past, what's the future, what's in the now. It doesn't mind, when you remember something from the past, it doesn't realize that it's the past. It feels just as real in your mind. So it's always important to remember that. So hence why it's always good to stay in the now.
And that the depression is just caused by the stories that you're telling yourself. You just keep telling yourself the same story over and over again.
I really do wish I could just reroute my brain and delete a few files. How about that?
Exactly. And I wish I could do that. Forget about it. But when you find yourself fixating on things that are making you feel sad or lonely or depressed, you need to be really conscious about the thoughts that you're having, and just say, you know what, I'm going to choose to think about something else. And if all you can choose to think about is something that is making you happy right now, it could be a peanut butter sandwich, or, your workout at the gym, or a television show that you're watching, or a sunset, or a kitten, or whatever it is that's in front of you, fixate on that and try to let those other thoughts and feelings go. Have you ever heard of the book, The Untethered Soul?
No.
I would recommend it. It's, see if I can find it here. It's by Michael Singer. But it's basically about that voice in your head, it's a very interesting book.
Okay, I'll look it up. Untethered Soul.
Yeah.
Okay, that was from our post-production. And Michael, we all appreciate you being vulnerable with us. I think it's important to really speak from our heart and let us know what we're all really thinking. And that's what truth is, and that's what we're all here to talk about. So let's jump back into the episode where we left off.
But like, I haven't had Jesus show up in my room. I haven't had like cool things happen in my life. It's just been, pooping, sleeping, and that's it. Drinking, pooping, sleeping.
Okay, so just so the audience understands, like, the person that you really had faith in, that maybe whatever they were saying was legitimately true, you really put a lot of clout behind her, like a lot of faith in her, in like what she
because
said.
There were certain things that she did in the past where I'm like, whoa, maybe she is connected in a certain supernatural like way, or it could be, what's that word, Nicole? Something called coincidence. Yeah, could be that too.
I hate that word.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
coincidence and religion, guys. If you really want to get under Nicole and Lisa's skin.
Well, I don't know. I think
and science.
That's right. Science does.
Science disappoints also. Okay, science has been proven wrong.
Yeah.
Time and
time.
Especially when science and politics get married together, that's when shit goes bad.
Okay, but let's just talk about that for a second. When science gets it wrong and someone proves a theory wrong that everyone's believed in for, say, like, I don't know,
50 years.
Yeah. Do you just completely lose faith in all of science?
An element of it, yeah. I mean, like, I didn't say I lost faith in God because of this situation. I just don't see the value of your vision quest and trying to meditate and stretch on a yoga mat.
But okay, let me just say this. So you, because I've gone through this too, and I'm sure, and I know Nicole has as well,
yeah.
and probably anybody who has, whether it's a religion or spirituality or Buddhism, meditate, whatever, we all go through this, our faith being shaken. But I think the important thing to recognize here is that you put your faith in somebody outside of you. And I think the whole belief system of spirituality and what really is being taught or what should be understood is that you have to trust yourself and you have to go inside yourself, because everybody has their own energy, and things that may, like psychics that you may go to, and maybe they're very reputable, and maybe they've predicted things that have happened to other people, and they know what they're talking about, but they still have their own energy, that this energy they're tapping into is getting filtered through. So there's a spin, it's not like direct, they are not source, they are not God, it's coming through them, so it's going to be muddled. It's not something that nothing can really be truly predicted.
Well,
I was never expecting that from her or you guys or anybody who's spiritual. It's just when they really put their like I said, they stuck their neck out saying, yeah, it's going to be cool because, don't worry about it. Kick back at the pool. No, it reminds me of, because I grew up around Mount St. Helens, and it erupted big time in 1980, if you guys remember, right?
I remember.
And I remember reading stories about the people that died. And a lot of them were just so damn stubborn. They didn't want to leave because they had faith in God. One of them had like faith in God, and it's not going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Sure enough, he kicked the bucket. And it's like, this is why spirituality and, I'm just going to say it, religion, things like that get a real bad name out there, is because people like this that stick their neck out and then embarrass about, oh, and by the way, the world's ending on Friday again, guys. just in case.
I know. Okay, September 23rd. Yes.
I didn't hear that, but I could say the same thing about science. People put their faith in science.
That'll be like, what, the 5th or 6th time in the last 5 years that the world's ended? So it's happening.
But scientists say, there's not, an earthquake will never happen here, or one's going to happen, or, tsunami isn't possible or whatever. And then those things happen. And like Nicole said, it doesn't make people not believe in science. Like, sometimes
I don't remember that because
wrong.
last time I checked, especially when I went through my atmospheric courses, is they had a pretty good idea of what was coming scientifically, and they're not. I don't remember so many like a random hurricane coming out of nowhere in Alaska, because that would not be correct. That would go against science or everything I learned. But there are hypotheses in science, which are things that have not been proven yet, that could come to fruition where they're not right. And that's what a hypothesis is. Because sometimes a hypothesis in science, like, for example, evolution, could eventually be proven correct or not proven.
Oh, come on. In the 50s, science was telling doctors that cigarettes were healthy, and people were, like, encouraged to smoke cigarettes.
Like I said, when science and politics and marketing get involved, it's all crazy.
Okay.
When you're, like, just talking about raw science, it's a little bit different. And even raw science, like I think even Einstein has made some errors from what I've heard on some of his major how do I say it? Major,
theories.
like I think even E equals EMC squared or whatever, that thing.
Yeah.
I heard that wasn't quite accurate. But
yeah, well, Jim said that on our podcast.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's where I heard it from.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't make me feel like, oh shit, Einstein's an idiot and I don't believe everything and anything he says. It does make me feel like, okay, I shouldn't take everything very concrete if it hasn't been proven by multiple sources.
Well, the problem is that there's ego everywhere. There's ego in spirituality and there's ego in science. So when the ego comes in science and someone who carries a certain pedigree within the science community says something, if you're one of the peers who's going to oppose that because you maybe have very, very verifiable evidence, everyone's going to turn against you and say you're crazy because no one wants to go against someone with a certain pedigree in science, right? Like, because then, like, it's like disgracing. It's like disgracing a king or something like that. Like, it's like back in the days, your head would get cut off. It's like in the science community, you lose your.
But this is why there's such a
credibility.
Yeah, you use your.
Go ahead.
All three of us.
No, I was just saying, like, Lisa was right.
Each other in an intersection.
So let's talk about the ego, because I had this similar experience just this year as well, like only a few months ago, where I felt like my very foundation of spirituality was shaken down to the ground. Like everything just crumbled and I was distraught over it. I was so saddened because everything that I thought to be true or believed in was getting thrown upside down, and I was being told this by people outside of me, and I chose to believe them. And they may be true, they may not be true. There's certain things I really don't believe are true. Other things could be true. But I stopped meditating. I stopped calling on all my guides because I was mad. I felt so deceived. I felt like everything that I had I had invested so much of my own self into this, to only be told something completely back-ass different, it ruined everything for me. And I was with you when it happened.
Oh yeah, I remember.
But, okay, let me just interject and say, your faith was shaken by the same person.
That's true.
That Michael's was, and that you guys were putting.
I didn't even put that connection together, Nicole. I forgot.
Yeah, so you guys were both putting a lot of weight on what this person was saying.
It was that person and someone else for me. Yeah, there were two people.
And so I think when you're truly maybe acting like they're almost like God, like everything that they say is gospel, and that's where you're going to go for truth, and you're going to ask them, what kind of visions do you have? How can that help me? I think when you start looking outside of yourself, I started going down that road a little bit, and I quickly reeled myself in, maybe because of what had happened to Nicole and learning that. But also I got advice from a psychic friend that told me during a reading, actually, that she actually wouldn't tell me what I wanted her to tell me, because she just simply said, you already know the answers. And that the guidance that she was getting to pass on to me was that I don't need to look outside myself for answers. I don't need to go find them from a psychic or, any sort of medium or reader or shaman, or that I can go inside myself and I will know what is best for me. And I think that we all want to believe that the answers are somehow outside of us, and that we don't have to trust our own intuition and our own gut, that we don't know as well as maybe somebody who has this divine connection. And I think the lesson to be learned here is, don't go outside yourself. Like, always listen to yourself and go with what you believe to be true.
Yeah, it was a huge lesson of discernment for me.
Yes.
And I think also for you, Michael, is, because the difficult thing with you and I and this one person who happens to have been part of both of our faith rocking, is that she actually does have wonderful gifts, and I can attest to certain things of being true because of what I feel and have seen in my own growth and other people's growth. However, it's easy to then just believe everything, and I've always had some tugs, some of those red flags come up with this person on certain things, not all things, but there were certain things, and I was like, I started to question some things, and I wasn't buying into everything. But in this instant where I was told what I was told, it I guess I bought into it because I didn't know what else to do at that point. I was being told stuff I never had imagined in my life, and so I was kind of shocked. I think I was stunned. I was frozen. I was paralyzed by the shock. So I didn't know what to do.
And I think I think we start getting hopeful, like, oh, this person knows sort of what's going to happen to me, and they know what's
true, Lisa.
best
that's kind
for
of
me.
That's what it feels like. Because like when you kind of like build faith momentum,
yeah,
and all of a sudden it just something just derails you. Like I said, it can either, if you had a good foundation, you can stick it through. But if you didn't have much of a foundation, which frankly I didn't have much of a foundation, because I've been just starting to try to develop my spirituality with even your guys' assistance and things like that. So I didn't have that real rock hard foundation. It felt, like I said, a house of cards. It fell down.
I think it's a great lesson for everybody, though, and I think that it's important, and it's maybe one of the things that we need to learn in this life, is not to put that faith outside of ourselves. It's one thing to go, you can go to a therapist, for guidance, or a teacher or a counselor or a parent or a friend. It's the same thing. But you have to take what they say with a grain of salt. It may resonate with you and it may not. And you may have a friend, that's a psychic, and you may have a friend that's not. And you may get equally as good advice from both of them, because it's just whatever resonates with you and how those messages are going to come to you. But at the end of the day, you have to use your own guidance, your own discernment. You have to do what you believe is right for you. Period. No matter who it's coming from.
Still pisses me off, though.
Well, yeah, and even if you were told, if you were told something by your father that, this is the way it is, and this is how you live your life, and this is how you're supposed to.
Santa Claus doesn't exist.
Right?
Oh my God, I was really mad.
Or you just work. You're gonna go to college, you're gonna get a degree, and then you're gonna go get a great job, and you're gonna make a bunch of money, and then you find out, like, what the fuck? That doesn't work like that.
I think everybody has that what the fuck moment after college. I'm not sure how shortly after, but sometimes they won't have it until like they're like 30 or 40 or 50 or maybe beyond. But like, I feel like there's a lot of conditioning that we go through as kids, especially.
Yeah, that you've been deceived.
Yeah. So I think, like, for anyone who's listening to this right now, when you are trying to learn more about yourself and understanding who you are and, going on a journey, whether it's spiritual based or religious, or maybe neither, you're always going to come up against something that tests what you believe to be true. And, the only way you're going to strengthen your discernment muscle is by going through these kind of experiences where you're let down, because you need to understand the duality to understand what is true and what isn't true. There's no way that you're going to know what feels like truth and doesn't feel like truth if you don't feel both.
Right. And old cliche, but you're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, just because something doesn't turn out the way someone said it was supposed to or whatever, doesn't mean that person isn't necessarily getting, information from the spirit world or whatever, isn't highly connected, but maybe it just didn't resonate with you. It wasn't your truth. Maybe it was their truth. And that's really an important thing to learn.
Yeah, that's a hard one to really wrap your head around when you're kind of new to this idea of people think a truth is universal, and there are universal truths, but there are also the fact that wherever you are in your journey, what could be true for you is not true for someone else. And it doesn't mean that one is true and one isn't. It just means that there are different truths for people depending on where they are in their own consciousness, their own journey, what they're supposed to learn. And so that is also a big thing to understand, and honor within each person. So
whether you go to a psychic or, like I said before, or you go to a therapist or a psychiatrist or a counselor, and you're trying to get information to help you make better decisions, to live a better, happier, more joyful life, there are going to be things that are said by them that will resonate with you, and there are some that aren't. And I hope that nobody would listen to anybody else blindly, regardless of who it is. Anyone giving you advice on how to live your life or what's best for you. I would hope that anybody would just listen to it as they would if they were reading a book. You take some of it, and some of it you leave. And you just have, if it sits right with you, then that's your truth. And if it doesn't, just disregard it and just be happy that maybe you got one good piece of information from that person or from that book. Not everything is the gospel. I don't think there's such a thing. I think even the gospel's the gospel. Is the gospel even the gospel? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
we kind of talked about this on one of our previous podcasts, just about discernment and...
Yeah, number 3.
Yeah, so I think it's similar to that, but I think you just got a first-hand experience in it. And I think that's a good thing. If anything, that should help you on your journey, because it should strengthen your belief in yourself and in your own discernment. I don't think you're going to be so apt to listen to anybody as quickly or as easily as maybe you would have before.
I guess that's a very good point. You're damn right with that.
And also, I think it's important for us all to remember that we're all human and everyone has an ego. And it's very easy sometimes, even if you're a really spiritual person, to not always catch yourself when you move into ego and are maybe giving advice from an egoic place. And you may feel like it's coming from truth and from that part that's kind of pure, but let's face it, sometimes when we're a more evolved spiritual person and we have more people looking up to us, it's easy to kind of go into that mentor role and kind of shift into some ego and thinking that you're all that, and forget that you don't have all the answers for everyone, and you shouldn't project your own truth onto someone else.
I think it's also, if I were someone who had the gifts of like this person that we're talking about, or had psychic ability and had, thousands of people that have come to me for advice, and I have healed and guided so many people, I think that would be a difficult position to be in. And to where when you are asked, it's almost like you don't even want to kind of maybe admit that you don't know. Like maybe that there's probably a lot of pressure that comes with those gifts. So I would have to imagine that it's not always easy to just simply say, I don't really know. There are things I know, but some things I don't know. And I'm sure it's a learning and growing process for anybody who has those types of gifts. And, we all make mistakes. Like Nicole said, the ego is going to jump in there quickly and easily without us even knowing that it's happening.
Yeah, we're all teachers and we're all students, so it's always kind of important to remember that aspect.
And it doesn't mean that person doesn't have knowledge, on other topics or shouldn't necessarily be listened to. I think, I still believe in that person as far as the gifts that she does have. I don't believe that she's always right, but I know several psychics that I've spoken to that are, Nicole and I are friends with, that they sometimes say things to me and I just disregard them because I just say, oh, okay, but that doesn't feel right for me. Some of the things they say really resonate with me, and other things I'm just like, yeah, I'm not feeling that at all. But that doesn't mean that I don't believe that they have these gifts. And I don't necessarily believe that they're trying to bullshit
So what
me.
about you two then, or specifically Nicole? Like when you see your visions, because I know Lisa that yours comes more during dreams, if you will. But like
I don't
Nicole,
have like visions like Nicole does during meditation and stuff.
right? So like Nicole, when you meditate and see visions, how do you translate those in your own mind?
That's a good question. It's still a learning process for me. I definitely don't have it down to a science. Because my visions, they've kind of always been there, but I haven't really paid attention to them like I have in the last, I guess, year and a half. And I write a lot of stuff down, and I go and like certain things will come to me and I won't know what they mean. And so I'll look up on the internet, like the spiritual meaning of certain things. And that may help to bring through a message, of what feels right. Like sometimes I just know it's what my message is supposed to be. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. You just have this certain knowing that it's right. And then there's certain times where I'm so confused and I don't know what the fuck's going on in my head. Like I don't know what it is that they're trying to tell me. And
I feel the same way about my regular dreams though. I have very vivid dreams and sometimes I wake up and I know exactly why I had that dream. It totally makes sense to me and I get it. And other times I'm like, yeah, I have no clue.
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of like it's hard sometimes when you don't understand to not be like, well, maybe I just don't know what it is that I'm seeing at all. But like with anything, the more we use something, the more we get to know it, the better acquainted we are with it, Like what's the author's name? Malcolm Gladwell, who did the Tipping Point, and is that his name?
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so like he says that in order to become an expert on something, most experts on anything have spent a minimum of 10,000 hours.
That's right, 10,000 hours
doing something, And so, like for instance, I've done 10,000 hours of massage, like easily. And so that's something I feel really confident in are my massage skills for certain things. Meditation, I have not done 10,000 hours yet. So it's still a learning process. And it kind of sometimes I'm really humbled and brought back down to, a certain level of realizing that I know nothing. And then there's other times where I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I'm starting to really get it. And, I think that's totally normal. And I think that's healthy to have both states. Because I think you need to have the confidence in order to go forward with things. And then sometimes it's important to be broken down and take a different perspective and maybe learn it in a different way. So I don't know. It's like with life, you learn as you go through stuff.
And I think we've talked about this before, about the purpose of this life. I mean, if we were supposed to know everything, we wouldn't come here with amnesia. We come here not realizing the other lives that we've lived and who we really are and where we really came from, and there's a purpose to that, so that we can learn and we can feel that duality and go through the emotions and the ups and downs of things. So I mean, I think that's kind of the purpose of it, that it's okay to fall on your face. It's okay to have faith in something and then realize that that person or that thing was wrong, and to learn the lessons about trusting in yourself. And I mean, I just think that that's just part of life, and we don't have to judge ourselves so harshly. It's not, I think one of the most important things that I've really learned in the past 6 months or so is that life is about the experience. It's not about the outcome. It's not about doing it right all the time, or never making mistakes, having the most money or the perfect job or the perfect relationships. Or it's not about trying to navigate this life without hitting any potholes or road bumps or anything like that. It's simply about the experience of it, and not judging those experiences. So whether you make $1 million or you file bankruptcy, not to judge one to be any better than the other, that we just came to this life to experience things. So regardless of whether your relationship flourished and you've been married for 50 years and that's great, or you've been divorced 3 times, it doesn't make any difference. You came to this life to experience things, and the point is to do the best that you can do, feel as much joy and happiness along the way that you can, and simply not judge it. So we don't have to have a psychic or a guru all the time to try to help us avoid anything that could go wrong. That's really not the point. Like, maybe we just have to go through these experiences, and that's okay.
Michael?
Yes?
Let me ask you this. So you said that you stopped meditating, which I can totally relate to because I did the same thing. Do you think you'll ever pick it up again?
One thing I enjoyed was just the relaxation of it all. So if I'm like feeling anxiety or stressed, I'll probably do it just to calm myself down or bring myself back to even par. But as far as like thinking some sort of big breakthrough or some sort of, I guess, spiritual breakthrough would come, no, I'm not going to bother thinking that stuff. At least not right now.
But isn't that really the point of it all, though? Like, meditating, I mean, that's why I do it, and that's why I do breathing, and that's why I pray and do all the stuff that I do, is simply to find
I guess,
more relaxation and joy in my day-to-day life.
It's frustrating because after I've done a lot of praying in my old school ways, went back in the Catholicism days, and then kind of like doing the meditation route, which is, in my opinion, a form of a type of prayer or prayer format. And it's just frustrating, I guess, at my age, where it's like it works for other people, but it just seems like it keeps swinging and missing with me.
Works? Like what? How do you define works?
I don't know. Maybe people. I guess if you had people praying that the hurricane would miss Miami that were living over in Miami, they probably got their prayers answered.
Right.
People on this side, not so much. And it's like, so to me, it's just kind of like, you always have people that will feel like it works, will feel like they've got some sort of straight connection into that spiritual realm. And then there's other people that just keep getting the no dial tone. And I'm just getting the no dial tone. I mean, you guys at least had a few people pick up the call when you called, but like I'm getting nothing. So it's just frustrating.
Well, maybe, I mean, when you say that, that means that you prayed for a certain outcome, and the outcome that you received was what you prayed for. But you're praying for like the hurricane to miss you, and when it doesn't miss you,
I know I didn't that hurricane came, hurricane goes by. I didn't really care. I mean, I do care. Obviously, I care for the well-being of people, but like I didn't think that prayer would change its course at all. When I talked to this other person, or when she was talking, I kind of like got like a
twinge of hope.
No, the opposite.
Oh.
An upset stomach, because I'm like going, you just fucked me. Because if this all of a sudden you're so convinced that this is going to do what it's going to do, and you got the visions to back it up in your mind, if this doesn't happen, I'm going to go back to ground zero. And I'm like, I just rather that person not have told me any of that. Just more instead, pray for the well-being or meditate on the well-being of people in general or something like that. And it's just like, that's what pissed me off about it. Is like somebody came in when I was trying to build up some sort of foundation of spirituality and hurricaned it through.
But she's just a human. She's just a person who was wrong.
I know.
She just was.
But like, again, I don't have much else to lean on other people when it comes to.
But okay, kind of you also said to me,
and Nicole, that what happened to you pissed me off too. I lost a lot of faith on what you were talking about too, because I'm like, this doesn't make sense. It's not adding up right. And you and I spoke about this, and it's like, when I guess I'm just vulnerable to being let down, and I have been for years.
Yeah, I think you should just put more faith in yourself, like faith in, meditate because it relaxes you. Meditate because it helps you to find peace and relaxation, and don't meditate because you're trying to make some sort of like psychic connection or get.
I was never trying to, and I never expected anybody else to either. But when people put their neck out on the line, that's what irritates me.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. I don't think anyone should be projecting their stuff onto other people, because that's when everything gets a bad name for that's how you're gonna have all these good apples, and then one bad apple ruins the whole bunch. We always tend to remember the shitty thing that happened and not the 10 good things that happened. So
yeah,
that's human nature, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, after all of my disappointment, it took me a while to get back into it, but I did. And the reason why I decided to was because I thought about how much I enjoyed my meditation practice and how many good things have come out of it aside from what had gone wrong. And I just realized that, the good things completely outweighed that one bad experience. And I didn't want someone else's shitty stuff to take away something that brought me a lot of joy. So I didn't want to be the victim. And so I decided to take that information and empower myself more and be like, okay, big learning lesson, gotta strengthen my discernment muscle, need to start listening to my inner guidance more, stop putting so much clout behind what other people are saying when I really don't know them as well as I know myself. That was the big thing. And I'm like, I'm not gonna let some crappy negative experience completely dictate now how I change my spiritual practice. Because it really wasn't my spiritual practice that needed to change. It was like we said, I just needed to strengthen my discernment muscle and start listening more to myself. And it's like, you get to a point where you got to stop looking outside and start looking inside. And that was kind of like the big lesson for me.
And we talked about this in a recent episode about, the language of your own guides and your own angels, when we were talking about, numbers and different signs of things. I think that's more important than looking outside of you for someone who's going to tell you, like a psychic or something. When you're, if you see certain numbers over and over again, and we've said, pay attention to that, or you see the same type of animal all the time, that's your own discernment. That's paying attention to stuff, or listening to nature and listening to maybe conversations around you, or things that just hit you funny when you're reading a book and a certain sentence sticks out to you. That's going inside yourself and listening to yourself and your own guides. And I think that that's the most important thing that we can do. And meditating, I believe, just helps you connect to that connection, makes that connection stronger so that you're more aware and you're feeling that intuition and those gut feelings more often, or at least you're honing in on them and paying attention more. But I think at the end of the day, you've got to listen to yourself. I mean, that's the best advice I can give to anybody. You know, don't listen to your husband or your father or your mother or your siblings or your friends or your teachers or your spirit guide, you know, your spiritual friends. You know, listen to yourself. You know in your heart what the best thing is for you. And that's the most important. That's spirituality in a nutshell. Listen to yourself.
There you go, folks. Once again, the podcast has just ended at 14 episodes.
We're done. No more. We don't need anything else.
And to the listening audience, we hope that Nicole one day will talk about her episode on the podcast.
I will.
We just need to bring the audience up to certain things.
Yeah,
happen.
I've been at this game for almost over 20 years, and it threw me. And I allow myself to go down very deep rabbit holes, and not a lot shocks me, and this freaked me out. And so I can only imagine what it would do to someone who's very new to this, and I don't want to freak anyone out yet. So we're going to just wait a little bit longer till, we buffer out a few more topics before I get into that experience.
Yeah, it's a little fringe. Let's just say it's fringe kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's very fringe. It's very fringe.
Very fringe, so.
You both are fringe to me, so might as well let the audience eventually.
Well, we didn't get to take a trip into Inner Earth this last weekend because we had to cancel our trip to Arkansas. And we didn't get to go to the crystal mines, and but
I still had a fucked up experience this weekend.
She did. Nicole and I, we didn't tell you this story yet, Michael, have we?
No.
About her.
No.
Nicole had these crazy ass dreams over the weekend while she was up in Vail.
Yeah, I was up in Vail.
Go ahead, tell it.
Oh, that's right. I haven't talked to you since you. Oh, yeah. I mean, do you want to talk about it now?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it because it's kind of in line with.
Yeah. We were supposed to go to Arkansas, but at the last minute we canceled our trip because I have a back problem and I just could not. I just didn't think I could handle a 16-hour drive and sleeping in a van, so I just canceled the trip. And Nicole ended up going to Vail instead.
Yeah.
And I stayed home.
So the second night I was in Vail, I went to bed and I had a really awful night of sleep. I just couldn't. I don't know if you ever had those dreams where they're in constant repeat mode and like things are repeating over and over and you can't break the cycle. And you try to you kind of know you're dreaming and you want to wake yourself up out of it, but sometimes you just can't.
I had one of those recently. I'm just like the same dream over and over and over and over. And you're just like, wake up.
Yeah. So I was having that and it was stressing me out because I knew I wasn't completely sleeping because I was aware of it. And so I finally woke myself up out of it. And then I decided I went back to bed and I had a really bad nightmare. And it freaked me out so much that I woke up whimpering. And my girlfriend, who's in the same hotel room as me, heard me and was like, didn't know if I was okay because, I don't usually do that. So, but I mean, I woke myself up from the dream because I was like whimpering. And I had dreamt that this man had walked into my bedroom and he just walked into my bedroom like it was his room. And I had like 2 dressers in my room and he went on and he was putting on like shorts or pants, even though like he was completely clothed. It was weird. He was doing it and I kept saying to him like, who are you? What are you doing here? And he just was ignoring me like I didn't exist. And so I wanted him to leave. Obviously it's my bedroom. And so I get out of my bed and I realized that I had I was clothed, but I also had a pair of boxer shorts around my ankles. And so I couldn't like move fast enough to him. Like it was hindering my movement. It was really weird. And so I finally get in front of him and I'm looking at him going, you have to leave. This is not, you don't live here. And he just looked at me like he could care less and almost had a smirk. It was really creepy. And I was trying to tell him to leave, but it was almost like my mouth was glued shut and I couldn't get words out. And I was trying so hard to speak to him, but I couldn't. And finally, like, I finally was able to get something out and I said, you have to leave. This isn't your room. And he finally like turned around and left. And it just scared me. And so that's when I woke up whimpering, because at the same time, I didn't know who the man was. I've never seen him before. I remember when I looked at him, I felt like I did know him, even though I have no idea who he was. And so I woke up in the middle of the night, and from that, and then I decided, like, I grabbed my crystal. I had a crystal by my bedside. I held on to it, and then I went back to bed, and then I had a dream where my friend's mother was in my kitchen, and she's saying to me, Nicole, I've been picking up your energy all day and it's not good. There's something wrong. And I said, yeah, I've been having nightmares all night. I can't break this nightmare cycle. And so in this dream, I'm talking to her about what just happened to me. And she just said, I know. And then all of a sudden, light language started coming out of her mouth and she started signing the light language as well. And she had a message for me and she translated it into English. Part of it I remember. And then I woke up from that because I was all disturbed from that. And I swear on my life, I saw a woman standing at the end of my bed holding a clipboard. And it freaked me out so much. I've never been this freaked out from waking up. Because I didn't see it in my mind's eye. I saw it with my actual physical eyes. And then I freaked out and this image disappeared.
And meanwhile...
Okay, so while this is all happening, Lisa?
I'm back in Denver sleeping, and it's like 1:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden I get this like jolt of energy in me, and it kind of woke me up, and I just start speaking light language. And it's not that uncommon that if I wake up in the middle of the night, I'll spew like a couple words of light language and kind of roll over and fall back to sleep. So I like all of a sudden I just wake up with this jolt and I start speaking light language kind of like fast and furiously. It's just like coming out of me. And I'm trying to sort of like keep my eyes closed and still go back to sleep thinking it's going to stop any second, and I'll just go back to sleep. And I'm talking over and over and over again. I just keep tossing and turning. And then all of a sudden I hear myself say, Nicole. So in the middle of all this crazy light language that obviously, I don't understand, I say Nicole. And then that kind of grabs my attention. I'm like, did I just say Nicole? So I'm like, okay. And then I just keep speaking light language. And then I have this vision in my head of Nicole. I see her standing sort of like in front of what looks like a cave. It's kind of blurry. It's really dark, and I can see only like her shadow, but I know that it's her, and she's about to kind of walk into this cave, and I just see it's like the color of amber, and like true amber with like the little black flecks in it, and she's starting to go into the cave, and I'm still speaking light language, and then in English I say, Nicole, don't go in there. Stop. Don't go. And then Brian, he's wide awake next to me and he's like listening, and that kind of woke me up. Like when I started speaking English about Nicole in the middle of light language, I kind of looked over at Brian and I was like, I think I just said Nicole. And he goes, you did. You said, Nicole, don't go in there. And I was like, yeah, I really feel like I need to call her and tell her, I don't know where she is or what she's doing, but I feel like she needs to know not to go in somewhere. So I called her and it went straight to voicemail. And she said she never got a missed call on her phone. And then I texted her and just told her that I just had this really weird experience. And I guess I had a message for her that not to go. It just said, Nicole, don't go in there, but that I really didn't know what it meant. And so Nicole saw that.
Yeah, so I saw my phone flashing, but I never picked it up because I was afraid that if I looked at my telephone, it would wake my friend up. And so I just I ignored it. But when I woke up in the morning and I saw her message, because I had other nightmares, I just couldn't remember what they were. I had remembered them when I woke up, but I couldn't remember them in the morning. Those were the only two things I could remember. And that woman, I will never forget. So it freaked me out that Lisa picked up on it energetically as well. And that freaked me out. I have to say, like, not a lot. Okay, I don't want to say not a lot scares me because scary movies scare me really easily. But I mean, in actual like life and things like
3D.
Yeah, like dreams. This was something that I don't know. Like it just
felt real.
It felt so real. That man's face, the way he looked at me, freaked me out. Having this woman that I saw with my physical eyes standing at the end of my bed holding a clipboard. I'm like, what is going on in this place? And
I don't usually ever just randomly say English words in the middle of speaking light language unless I truly feel like I'm getting a message. And then I will like stop and say something in English. But it was just really strange that it happened like in the middle of the night like that. And it was clearly for Nicole. Like it wasn't like I was really thinking about her or anything. It just came out.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's the lives
Sounds
of
like
Nicole and Lisa.
Coincidence to me.
Yeah.
It was just a coincidence. We just both happened to have weird dreams.
Weird dreams at the same time.
I guess. Mine wasn't a dream, though. I was awake. Like, was woken up. I was not dreaming.
We still need to get you evaluated by a doctor eventually, Lisa.
Okay.
You got some sort of
I need to be committed.
You got like some sort of spiritual Tourette syndrome going on.
That must be what it is. I
Well, we'll
guess.
find out in October maybe with our guest speaker that's coming up.
No, she'll be in November.
November? Gotcha.
Yeah, we've got a very special guest coming in November. We're going to be talking more about light language with all of you, with someone who has written incredible books on it, teaches people how to speak light language, and I gotta say, like her book, her name's Jamie Price. Her book, Opening to Light Language, is probably one of my top 3 favorite books I've ever read.
Yeah, it's good.
For the simple reason of I've never read something that really expands my consciousness while reading it, while raising my vibration at the very same time. I mean, like, I literally feel my vibrations rising within reading just one paragraph. It's unreal. And I get so happy when I read her stuff. And it's not because she's saying something really joyful. It's just the energy behind her words. It's so high vibration. So I'm excited to have her on the show. And maybe she can shed some light on Lisa for all of us.
Yeah.
Maybe she... I could use some light shed on me. For sure. My light language is just fine. It comes around whenever I need it.
Yeah.
It's always there for confirmation on things, and when I feel a little anxiety or if I'm in pain or something, it just feels like it's always there to help calm me
Yeah,
down.
I have light language then too. It's mostly cuss words, but when I'm in pain, I definitely use it.
Not the same, Michael. Not the same.
Well, that's probably a good wrap up for today.
Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed our dream. Our
So,
Nicole's
yeah,
dream.
well.
I hope you all enjoyed my lack of faith.
Yeah. Well, so Michael, is there anything that you'd like to tell the audience as a takeaway from your experience?
Oh, geez, no, not yet. I'll keep this. Maybe I'll have some follow-ups in the future. We'll see.
Well, just don't put too.
You know, we got another hurricane coming, so maybe I'll give it another try. I'm gonna go meditate that thing out.
But there's one that's hitting like the Cape right now, right?
Yeah, no, the Caribbean's getting smacked.
No, the Cape Cod.
Oh, that one. Oh, that one's a wimp.
Is
yeah,
it?
There's another one.
Good,
Yeah,
because
there's
I
another
just
one
made
out.
reservations at a place in Cape Cod for a couple weeks from now, and I'm hoping that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I'll meditate on it. Don't worry, Lisa.
Thank you. Could you meditate and let me know how that's going to go?
You got it. I got like basketball orbs striking it right now.
I'm not making any more vacation arrangements until I talk to you.
There you go. That's smart.
All right, so I guess the takeaway, since Michael has nothing to say or offer at this point, from at least myself, is that, you know, we're all bound to be let down in many areas of our life on things that we really want to believe in, whether it's people, whether it's advice, spirituality, religions, lots of different things that, you know, we put a lot of investment of ourselves in believing in. And, you know, the purpose of being let down is to have more faith in us, I believe, is to start putting all that investment back into ourselves and understanding that, you know, the answers that we all want are actually within us. We need to learn ourselves more. We need to understand ourselves more and tune in and get to know ourselves better. And I think that's the major takeaway.
Absolutely, I agree.
And, you know, just remember, life is an experience. It's lots of lessons to be learned. Some are enjoyable, some not so much. But, you know, the ones that I find are not so enjoyable are our biggest lessons and the ones we learn the most from. So you remember, everything, you know, is all about perspective. So you can look at your lesson as an obstruction, or you can look at it as an opportunity. And it's all a matter on how you want to take it in and allow yourself to experience it. So that's my takeaway, Lisa.
I think you said it perfectly, and I think the important thing is not to judge ourselves and look at things in a negative light, and, you know, just always trying to look at the positive side. You know, like, if it didn't turn out the way that you wanted, or you were disappointed by someone, just try to look at what it is that you learned about yourself and how you can use that in the future to help your discernment and your guidance be even stronger than it was before.
Awesome. I totally agree. Michael, on some level, do you feel like any of this resonates with you?
Not right now.
He's a processor. He needs to process.
No, you're absolutely lying, because you told me so, like, last week when we were talking.
I told you I was going to continue meditating to bring peace.
No, but you agreed that, you know, you need to start listening to yourself more, like start strengthening.
Well, myself has been like talking in circles for years, so I don't know what I'm going to be exactly listening to when I listen to myself, I guess.
Okay. All right. It's a journey, Michael. It's a journey.
So you guys keep saying. I keep taking the wrong turn.
Okay, so everyone, thanks for joining us today on this episode. If you like what you're listening to, please subscribe to us in iTunes and leave us a rating or a review. We need some more of those. And if you need any information on us, you can go to our website, enlightenup.us. And of course, if you have questions or topic ideas that you would like us to discuss, send them into our email, info@enlightenup.us. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And so that's it for today, and we will catch you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a
Goodbye.
great week.